was just talking, of course, we talked about that before you said your dad. Of course, now Carnes went a lot longer than that, from what I heard. Yeah, well, I remember because
We are live, so if you guys want to, I have
remember.
6:30 on mine.
All right. Well, we call this meeting of the Oakville United School Corporation Board of Trustees to order. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are some additions, and that usually happens with personnel this time of year, for sure. We have a couple other things that kind of came into play too, since Thursday when we kind of finalized the agenda, but personnel, we've had a resignation. We've also had an appointment or assignment. We've also had a transfer and then added a fundraiser as well as an item of new business with the ECA extracurricular position spreadsheet.
Do we need a motion for that,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep.
I will entertain a motion.
If we approve the additions to the meeting. Second.
All right, we have a motion from Andy and a second from Gary. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Passes 4-0. I would ask you to join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a couple celebrations. Our volleyball team recently was awarded the Indiana High School Volleyball Coaches Association Team Academic Award. And then our boys basketball team over our moratorium week took a trip to Jamaica to build 2 houses for 2 different families there. So there was, I believe, about 30 individuals that went. I think about 22 kids and maybe 8 or 9 adults. So, yeah. So I think that this,
Good deal.
yeah, I think that was positive. And if you want to listen to kind of their experience, it's on Spotify under Oakville Boys Basketball. So,
They do it on a daily?
yeah, they did a day, at the end of each day, they did a podcast that basically you can kind of hear what they did that day. And what I liked about it, or what I thought was really neat, is that they had the kids. Obviously, Mr. Redberger, he facilitated it, but the kids were kind of the primary ones, you know, answering questions and providing the information.
Sure.
So that was great.
It's pretty neat.
It was.
Do we have any public participation tonight?
Not that I have been made aware.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Yep, your claims have been provided in your folder and also went through for you guys to look through and sign tonight. Are there any questions on those? Anything you want to make note of, Chris?
There was one correction that we had to make today, so our payment to Madison Grant was the check of $144 too much. So that was voided today and replaced with that documentation is in the board packet for you to see that that was removed and how it was changed.
On to personnel, resignations. You can see there the resignations that have taken place since last month. Any question on those? Appointments. Some that I'd just like to highlight. We have a verbal approval or a commitment from a new ag teacher. So that is definitely positive. We like to have all of our teaching positions filled as soon as we can. So that was one I was a little worried about, just because there's a lot to that. So you can see that. And then internal transfers. We have a couple people, and what an internal transfer is it's a person that's already employed by the school moving positions, basically. So you can kind of see there. And then also we have 2 terminations. fundraiser, and this was one of the ones added. The cheerleaders are going to do this as something they've done in the past too, but a mom's fundraiser. And then field trips, the cross-country team will be taking a field trip to Indiana Dunes State Park, the last part of July, beginning of August.
That's very, that's normal.
Yeah, they do that every
They
year.
do
Yep.
that.
It's kind of their team bonding.
It is.
It
It is. It's brutal.
It's, I know, well,
It is.
it doesn't sound like, yeah, and I know, I remember one year, I think it rained a lot, one of the years they were there, and I was like, oh my goodness, that would be.
Yeah, my brother did it. He was miserable, of course, but loved every
But
minute.
I'm sure the team bonding
Oh,
was.
yes, loved every minute.
There would be stories to tell on that for quite some time. All right, so that is all we have on the consent agenda for tonight.
I entertain a motion for the consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Scott, a second from Gary. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Passes 4-0.
All right.
Continuing business.
Yes, continuing business. Summer project updates, just a couple things I want to go through with you here. Looking at our summer projects, they are well underway.
You can see that.
Yeah, I know. You pull into that, like, here's the roof here, so they're working on the junior high roof. Getting a good start on that. And then the dehumidification system is in or going in, and I see here, pretty impressive, the size of that. I was a little surprised at, I knew it was gonna be big, but they call it pool pack. So in my mind, I don't know if I thought, like,
Well, like we talked about the other night, I think, Scott, that's probably at least twice the size of the last one.
it is.
At least, maybe 3 times.
yeah, so here's our
Wider,
dehumidification system.
Is it active yet or still?
It is not,
connecting?
yeah, they're still connecting. There's the changes that have come from as they're starting to kind of get things hooked up. So you can kind of see there.
And everything's still on track for start of school?
Yes, yes. And then the only hiccup right now, and I'll show you that the pool painting has gone fine. There was a couple areas that Troy found today. They punched the, punch list. There's a couple areas Troy was a little disappointed, like you can see that railing back there. They didn't paint that. And for the dive well there area, kind of the railings around that. So they're gonna get us some quotes as to what that would look like to paint it. And then also we had a little bit of a hiccup. If you remember, we were coinciding the floor inspection. So in the, right here, the floor that goes up and down there, you can kind of see the part of it. The company from Canada which is the only one that services it
Right.
in
Right.
anywhere. They were supposed to be out here this week and they had something come up and then now they're trying to reschedule it to September and Troy's like, yeah, that's not gonna work. So hopefully, we'll be able to get them here before they have to refill it and get it going in. But you can see the walls here are what they repainted and the ceiling. And they kept the eagle, so that's a positive. And then the lower part there, Troy's also going to ask them to give us an estimate as to, he feels like the bleachers are too boring. So what would that look like with some gold underneath them? So we'll see what that costs. I said, isn't that something we can do? I don't know, I
Have a painting party.
know, have a painting party? I don't know. I
Did
think that might
he
be.
get the grout and floor done like you wanted?
Yes, they got that done.
Good.
Those areas patched up. So that is the 2 main projects we're working on this summer. The third project is our playgrounds. So we did get a revised quote back for our playgrounds, and you can kind of see that much was deducted from our original quote. We kind of tried to make that a little more financially responsible, just because we felt like the first quote was almost $1 million, not something that we were going to be able to do. So we revised it. All 3 schools will have enhancements to the playground. Swayze will have basically a whole new playground. And can kind of see there, once we get, I got a grand total of, let me look at my notes. Right now it's coming in about 430,000 for the three.
Well, when you compare that to $1 million.
A million, I know, we were able to do some major cutting on that, but you can kind of see some of this is Converse, some of the additions that'll happen for Converse. Swings are a major thing that happened at all three schools. And they'll have to do some groundwork with that too, which that's a little more costly. So you can kind of see there. There's the swings, then we can go over to, here's Swayze. Like I said, Swayze has the most addition, to that. That big system right in the middle, it's very large. Obviously, I don't think the picture probably does it justice, but that was the most expense there. I believe that came in at about 200,000 almost. So that's what we're looking at there with, yeah, it's the Play Booster Qantas. The Play Booster and Qantas, so that's what that was called. So, yeah, so that's a significant addition to the playground. It'll be kind of like the system that was taken out of the play system. There are a couple other areas, swings as well, so you can see there. Then this is Sweetser. They're only really going to add new swings and then a climbing system there. Another part of that, which is probably a big majority, at least 100,000 of it, I think, are close to, is the mulch that's going in and the groundwork they're having to do to make sure that the mulch is the 12 inches that it needs to be all around, including the new areas. So mulch has been a big factor of that. And it's going to be this, the spray-in mulch that is specialized for playgrounds.
350-pound wheelchair, don't like that much.
Well, I know, you're right. And the other option is, well, there's two other options, actually. The pour it in, which is like a nice, almost clay surface that you just can drive all over. That's probably your favorite.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I had at one of my other schools is it's like rubber pieces.
Yeah.
No, that's a no-go for me.
No, I get it. I just
So you can see there, those are the playground enhancements that we're looking at.
And this is all well within the extra money
Yes.
we have.
Yeah, we'll use the 24 GEO bond
Yeah.
to purchase, which was part of the plan.
And when are we voting on that?
Well, you guys have already voted basically to,
Because it's included.
yeah, because it's in part of that.
So we won't have to vote on that particularly, right?
No.
Because it's part of that project.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and as long as we stay within our limits, and in my head, and I know I'm really kind of cheap, I wanted to stay around 350,000.
Yeah.
So this is a little more than that, but as I see, I think the thing I did not expect is the installation costs.
Right.
For that playground equipment.
Well, and still, even.
That's
if
about
we
100,000.
Stick in to the 300 range, coming in at close to $1 million the first time.
I know.
That 400,000 is not bad.
Yeah.
No.
So if you have any questions with that, the proposals in your folders, you can look through that. But that will likely be the next step for us. Troy's also looking at a company, Grant County, can't think, Scott, Grant County,
Okay, asphalt.
yes,
I
to
wondered about that.
to do some paving, because a lot of our sidewalks and areas at our elementary schools are parking lots. They are in need of some TLC. And the original quote that got it, I think a lot of why it was so expensive is because they were that was included in that too,
Gotcha.
is the
So
pavement
if we
stuff.
could do that separate.
So, yeah, so that I will bring to you as something to approve or not. He also got another quote to do that sidewalk or the stairs coming down from the hill. You know what I'm talking about, from the upper parking lot at the high school. I know that's been something we've really been looking at for some time to try to get a fix for that. I know our kids are supposed to walk around, they don't. And we've had some injuries because of it and some dirty white pants sliding down a hill. that they weren't expecting. So we're also looking at that, so I'll bring those to you as well once we get quotes that we are kind of ready to move forward with. Approved Neola policies, this is the third and final reading for our policies. They can all be found in your folder as well. And again, we've had the teachers have looked at them, our principals have looked at them, and you guys have all looked at them for updates, and they have not changed since the second reading. So you can see there the different policies that we will be needing to approve tonight.
So is this all the updates for right now?
For right now, volume
Yeah.
37, number 1.
Yeah, that's.
I already have volume 37,
Yeah.
number 2.
That's what I
So
wondered.
you'll get those next month.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes. There's like 30 of
I
them.
know, there's a ton of them.
Yeah, and that's been a little bit of work to try to get those worked through, so, and updated.
We know it's quite a bit of work. Mr. Dean and I were involved in a process with Dr. McCormick when we had to start.
From
Faceless,
nothing,
yeah.
I know.
So
I know,
it's a
well,
little bit-
and when I was in my previous school, we were really diligent about trying to stay up on them, because once you get behind,
Oh, yeah.
it's
That's what
almost
happened
impossible.
here.
Then it is, it's easy
Yeah.
to do, because there's so many, you get them 2 times a year. And like, sometimes you can have, like, this next one will be about 30 of them, this one's only like 10.
Yeah.
Which is doable, but yeah, when you get a lot of them, it's really hard to kind of stay on top of it.
So we need a
Yep.
motion then.
We sure do.
I move that we approve the listed Neola policy updates. Second. We have a motion from Andy, a second from Scott. Is there any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 4-0.
All right, next on the agenda is, yes, the elementary handbook. This is the second and final reading of the elementary school handbook. And as we talked about last month, the major changes basically were just more, I would say, clerical.
Yeah.
No real policy changes or anything like that. We changed some names, we changed some dates, just to make sure it was updated, like we added Mr. Green, we changed Aaron's phone number because it was wrong. So just a lot of that. So no major changes to the elementary handbook. Last year, they did a complete overhaul, if you remember. We used to have 3 different elementary handbooks, made it one, which was so much nicer.
Yeah.
So,
Seems to be working out.
Oh, yeah. I
it's
think
made it
for
easier
parents,
Everybody.
yeah, for parents, it's much more streamlined, for sure.
Well,
You don't have
and it's gotta be easier for the students instead of learning a new handbook every 2 years.
Yes.
Here you have the same handbook for your entire elementary.
Yeah.
Yes, the only thing that changes kind of as you go through it from school to school is kind of the discipline matrix. It's,
Yeah.
Obviously at the
It's a little
K2
different.
Sure.
Yeah.
level, then it goes a little, it increases a little bit, and then by 5, 6, it's looking more like the junior high.
Yeah.
So,
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I so moved to approve elementary student handbook.
Second,
Motion from Gary, second from Andy. All those in favor, right hand. 4-2.
High school.
Aye.
yes, high school, junior high. This had a little bit more of changing, and Mr. Edwards and Mr. Beans put together kind of a little cheat sheet for you, so you can see exactly what was changed. We had some, additions to our bus, like going to Heartland, going to GRCC, kind of some additions there for bus rules. Primarily blankets, I'm gonna guess is a big one there. With our bus rules, we had some issues with kids. Rather than throwing out a coat or a sweatshirt, they'll grab a blanket to bring in. On a bus, that doesn't work. So the AI policy that we just approved through our school board policy, he added that in there. Just a couple of other things with changing of updating makeup days, just more of that type stuff you can see there. Cleaning it up a little bit. I feel like that's kind of what each year as we run into something that
They
it
clean
is.
up a little.
Yeah, is a little vague or a little gray, we try to make it a little more black and white, and clean it up a little bit. So you can see there, this will be, again, the second and final reading of this handbook.
entertain a motion.
I so move, high school, junior high, handbook. Second.
I have a motion from Gary and a second from Andy to approve the junior high and high school handbook. And is there any discussion? I would just like to say how much I appreciate Mr. Edwards creating that
It
cheat
is.
sheet that you talked about. It makes it so much easier to review it.
I agree.
So,
I
I would
agree.
appreciate that.
Yeah, he does a good job of that.
So having to read the whole thing.
Right.
Or I look for, like,
To figure it out.
scroll
Yeah.
on, yeah, for sure.
All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 4-0.
All right, on to new business, something that we implemented last year. If you remember, we started walk zones. Last year when our transportation department created them, they went a quarter mile. We have extended that a little bit more right now, so you can see each of the elementary schools. Here's Converse, the flags indicate the school, so you can kind of see around. You're looking at, they've extended it about another block in some areas, nothing significantly, just kind of areas that they feel like are accessible to be able to walk to the school. Here's Sweetser. Here again, nothing extreme. This one extended a little more to the south, towards the railroad tracks. It ends right at the railroad tracks there. It was probably 2 blocks, maybe to the north of that last year. And then Swayze. Our transportation director and our transportation secretary they drove many, many miles figuring this out it took them a couple weeks to kind of put this together,
Sure.
just to make sure. The tricky part is, on a map, it's easy to say, well, why isn't this? Why isn't that? But until you truly drive it, and I spent one of the days driving with them, and they showed me, because those were my questions, like this neighborhood down here, that seems, well, there's no sidewalk there, and there's one way in, one way out, and, just once you see it, you understand,
Yeah.
I can understand why this is not part.
Pictures don't necessarily
Yeah.
show that.
So I'm sure, like I said, this was new last year, so I don't know that people will be extremely surprised. I also, in my May newsletter, made note that we were looking at the walk zones. The main reasons for the walk zones, honestly, is like our buses are so full. And by having kids, walk to the elementary school there and then get on a shuttle, that frees up room on some of those buses for routes. It also lessens the route time by not having to pick up house to house like they were doing. And then it also, with some of our kids that are on the routes, not having to get up as early and be on those routes as early if we're not spending as much time in town. Because how our buses work is they go out first and work their way in, and then go to an elementary school. And then at the elementary school, then the kids all get on whatever shuttles. If they don't go to that school, they get on whatever shuttles, and then those buses all go to the elementary school. So that's the main reason for the walk zones. I know other communities around us have a much larger walk zone, and I try to remind people of that. This is not being done to, punish you or anything like that. We have 18 route buses, and we have to be cognizant of how full they get, because they were very full again. They were really full 2 years ago before we started walk zones. They were still, a little more full than what we are. Not full. They were to capacity. Each one was assigned to a capacity, which, it makes it a little crowded for some there when all students ride. We have about 1,000 students that are signed up at some point to ride a bus. And out of our 1510 enrollment, that's a lot. To try to divide those up, it's tricky. So our transportation department does a great job of, they spent a lot, like I said, they spent a lot of time on this.
It's that happy medium, trying to cut down on costs.
It is.
Keep things
It is.
reasonable, and like you said, we're not doing it to punish, we're doing it because we have to.
Mhm.
I don't like it any more than anybody else.
So, those are the walk zone proposed walk zones for the 25-26 school year.
And then these maps will go out in the next newsletter.
Well, yeah, I'll do
in
it back
email.
to school.
Okay.
Yeah, in about a week here. I'll send that right before I leave for vacation.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So,
Second, I have a motion from Scott and a second from Gary to approve the walk zones. Are there any other questions about the walk zones? I do appreciate the work that was done to put this together. I know that's not an easy thing.
They spent a lot of time. They did a good job.
All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 4-0.
All right, next on the agenda is food service. There's 3 different things that you'll be asked to review and approve here today. The first one is just kind of something, the last 2 years, we've increased our food service prices by 5 cents each year. This year, we have remained the same, so there will be no increase to our lunch or breakfast prices for any of our schools or any of our kids. So that was something that we, after having to increase the last couple of years, we wanted to make sure we had a year of kind of allowing our families to just remain the same. So. The second item is the approval of the list of vendors for our school that we will use this upcoming year. You can see those listed here for various. And then the last thing is one more document. All right, the last thing is the food service bid recommendations for 25-26. You can see here. And those links all work this time, as to the memo. Here, you can see that. They would like to continue with these contracted services for the upcoming school year.
Do you want one motion or 3?
It's up to you. I think we can do all 3, since we went
Understand,
through.
but I can change.
Well, I wasn't sure. Since you listed them like separately, I was.
Well, I listed it all under
Yeah, I know,
7B,
yeah,
so.
I know.
So they would be the meal prices, the vendor list, and the bid recommendations.
Okay. So entertaining motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion from Mandy and a second from Gary to approve the food service items. Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for keeping the prices the same. I think we're gonna have to raise them the next couple of years, and this is gonna be a nice gesture to the families. Here, take a year and not have to worry about it.
Our food service, they do a really good job of
I was gonna say,
keeping
I
our
appreciate-
costs in.
Yeah, I appreciate what Dina does to try to keep things.
Yeah, she does. She's done a great job.
Yeah, a lunch for under $3 is really good for some of these
Yeah,
families.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 4-0.
All right, next on the agenda is a recommendation to approve Kristen Goris as the CFO for our school employee benefit trustee replacement. So each school that's in the school employee benefit trust has 2 trustees that are on the board, and we have a teacher that's part of that, and then Chris is our other member. And so we just need a recommendation for her to be part of that board as a trustee in representing OPIL.
so moved.
Second.
A motion from Scott, second from Andy. All in favor, right hand, please.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, second, on the agenda, letter D is a recommendation to approve Kristen Goris as our CFO as an authorized plan representative for Voya. So Voya is one of our 403B
Correct.
representatives. And so this allows Chris to communicate with them on behalf of our school, and they can share information with her.
Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
Thank you, Garrett.
Second.
A motion from Garrett and a second from Scott to approve Chris to this position. All in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 4-0.
All right, and this next one is an addition to the agenda that we approved at the beginning. It wasn't quite ready for today or for when we went to kind of finalizing the agenda on Thursday. And so just let me preface, this is our extracurricular assignment sheet that we work off of the entire year. So Lynette uses this to pay obviously our employees that have any extracurricular position. So this is how we keep track of that. Our principals help complete this. So right now with our new high school principal being, with our high school principal just starting today, he hasn't had a ton of time to spend on this. Mr. Edwards has helped out. So this may change and may look different the next time, but next month, this is the preliminary approval for our extracurricular. And like I said, what typically will happen now, these are the people that have already held these positions over the last however many years. Moving forward, they will appear on our personnel sheet. So as we add a coach, as we add you guys will approve them, they will be added to the sheet, but it'll look different because it won't be kind of this mass approval like you're doing right now. So each time from now on, moving forward, it'll all be a recommendation and part of our personnel sheet. So you can see there.
Just for the adjustments.
Yes, for any adjustments or any additions.
Right.
The good thing is I feel like our people are so dedicated, like we don't have a ton of movement.
Change.
No, from year to year. Our people are really good about helping out. And as you can see, some of these positions, when you think about the time involved in them, they're not, they don't pay a ton. So
Yeah, time to divide out to an hour.
exactly. I remember I coached junior high volleyball for 9 years. And back then it was just like a few $100s. And I thought to myself, gosh, I wonder, like, what do you think I would have gotten paid hourly? And so like the 1 year I kind of figured it out. I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have done that because
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's
But
right.
that's not what it's about, obviously. I had, an amazing, time getting to know kids and being a mentor to them. So any questions on this or the color coding off to the side, you can see here, they all kind of have, if they're color coded, that means they're not already on staff. And then that's the, like for the spring sports, over here to the right, that's when they'll be paid. So up here, same thing. The blue ones are not on staff. So that's, you can see then, that's just, if you know Lynette, she's very, very detail oriented and organized. And this is her way of kind of keeping track of that. And also then letting the principals and the AD know like what that looks like and when they would be paid for those. So you can see that. So we took the fall, anything in kind of that orangish color, they are not on staff. Red still needs to be filled, like that's a big one, obviously. They would fill a freshman volleyball, depending on, the numbers, that a lot of that's dictated on that, so.
Depends on how many kids they have.
Exactly, so some of those, that's what we look at. Same thing when we look at drama, adding an extra person is all based on numbers, so.
So you need a motion. for
Yeah.
this one, then?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Andy and second from Gary to approve the, what would we call this, extracurricular
Assignment.
list. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, right hand, please. Motion passes 4-0.
All right, also, now I'm going to budget calendar. Now we are done with the agenda items that need to be approved, just some informational things we would like to share with you. The budget calendar, Chris put this together so you could kind of see what we'd be looking at as far as when the different documents are due, when we would be meeting and what we'd be meeting about. So you can see there what our budget calendar would look like. Now, this won't look obviously the exact same as maybe the other schools, other than we all have the same deadline
Yeah.
for when it needs to be submitted, like depending on when their board meetings fall and different things. So you can see that there. Next on the agenda is the SEBT health insurance. And Chris can talk a little bit about this. She attended the meeting last week, and they have.
So last year, there was a 3% increase, and then 2 years prior to that, there was not a rate increase. So the trust voted as a whole to not have more than a 5% increase to the healthcare plan. And so that is what they're looking and targeting for, is 5% or under.
When will we know? Is that January? Am I right about that?
So the new rates would be effective January.
Yeah.
But we will meet again in September.
Okay.
And they will have more information at that time. Unfortunately, they were only able to kind of gauge things from billings and procedures January through April. So they'll have more data when we go back in September.
Hopefully it's not 5%, hopefully it's
Well,
3% again. But if
yeah.
you remember last year,
Yeah.
something for you guys to think about, this will be part of when we start bargaining.
That's
and,
why I was
you know,
asking the question.
So last year, how it was 3%, we split it.
Yeah.
The school picked up 1.5%.
And a lot of times we split the increase, so I was just
Yeah, that's what we did
curious
last year.
as to what it will be.
So that's just something to keep in mind as we kind of start down that. We'll start that here soon. Facility needs. Just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an idea here of what that's going to look like for us. This was submitted by our athletic director, Mr. Fagan. What they're looking at purchasing on the athletic department's looking at purchasing here for cross country. You can see volleyball there, swimming, what that kind of looks like, wrestling, track, softball, and then you get down to general, and then those are typically things that are big ticket items that the corporation is the one that contributes to that and pays for the updates. And we talked about this, for some time, a couple of these things. The new bleachers in the gym is something that is really going to need to be a priority in the next 2 years. I brought, when we talked before, I had shared with you the turf. We recently had the turf redone, or it's swept and cleaned and done all that. And he basically told us our football turf has about 2 years left on it too before it needs to be replaced. So those are just some things as we, talk about updates and different things we want to do. So keep that in mind. One other to go along with athletics here. This gives you, this is our participation numbers for boys and girls. Kind of gives you a 25-year glimpse of athletic participation numbers over that time frame for boys and girls sports. So it's kind of an interesting, on the boys side of it, significantly more boys, I feel like, are participating than were maybe back in 2000, 2001. Same with girls, it's an increase on both. So I think that's always a positive. So, and, who knows with the change in the IHSAA
Yeah.
transfer rule that might encourage some from area schools even to come, so maybe we might see an increase from that as well.
That wouldn't be a bad thing.
Just some other things that we would like to connect on. Our bonds, our ban, let me back up. So in 2021, the board approved to do a ban to build the baseball field. The ban came due, was a 5-year ban, came due this year. And so we have gone through the process to take out a lease to secure bonds to pay for that ban. So these are considered the 2025 first mortgage bond series. There you can see that, and you can see the total cost of what that was, but we closed on that on the 25th. So everything went well. This has been a process we started back in, I want to say March or April, wasn't it? When we, kind of started that process. So finally closed. They sold on June 4th, was it? June 4th. And then we closed on June 25th. So just wanted to update you on that. All is good with that. And then the last thing that we want to just kind of talk with you a little bit about, I don't have anything yet to share with you other than we have a committee of 2 teachers, our HR person, Chris, and I, and we have been looking at possibly changing our retirement accounts here, that the school contributes the 401A, and then we also have worked with that same Corbridge Valak for our 403B. We also have a couple others that we work with 403B and Aspire and Voya. What we're trying to do, or what we've been working on, is to see if my understanding is Corbridge, Valak, it was, what was it before that? We have been with them since
From the very beginning.
Yeah, from the very beginning when we started contributing to 401As. We have not really gone out and looked or done any requests for proposals. We've not done that. We have done that now with 2 different companies that we're looking at and working with. And what we are finding is that the platform we're using right now is an annuity platform. And it's the older one. It's from the one we've been on since we started this. There's some other alternatives out there right now that would allow us to have a little more flexibility with the retirement funds, meaning not as difficult to take out and use as they need to, which that has probably been our biggest complaint with the current provider, is they make it very difficult to do anything, even retire, honestly, and get your money. So, and then the second complaint that we probably have fielded recently, I would say this last year, is the fees that we're paying for Corbridge and Valak right now. So we are looking at smaller alternatives. I do think, I know it's still, we haven't made a decision yet, but I feel like I do think the committee will lean towards a new provider. So just kind of something to keep in mind, just because when we look at the savings that it would mean for the school and fees, as well as then that puts more into the retirement for our people. And that's obviously what we want.
When you say inception for Corbridge, do you mean since Oak Hill School started?
No, since we started, since we were required to start.
Around 2000,
That's
2001.
Right,
That-
yes.
was gonna be my
That's,
question.
that's what.
I think the, Mr. Big did it mention 2004. He
Yeah,
tried.
it was, but I just know that when we started talking to them,
Gotcha.
it was in the early 2000s. And I don't want to say they were the only game in town, but it was pretty close to that.
Yeah.
I remember.
And what we're finding now even, honestly, I would say our biggest challenges have been that the size of school we don't have the amount
Right.
that is invested. We don't have the dollar amount that some companies require.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
we're considered a small school.
Sure.
we're looking at 4 million in the 401A, wasn't it? And another 2 million in, the 403B. So some companies are like, we don't touch it if it's not 20 million or 50 million or
Right.
something like that. So that is a little bit of a challenge that we have, I feel like, kind of didn't really realize before kind of starting down this process, so. But we more just want you to be aware of that, and that is,
Always good to be looking and seeing how are we getting the best that we can.
I do think our next, probably, Chris looks at me like,
Chris looks at you and
probably the next thing we're gonna look at, and I know this might be a touchier subject, just because it's so local, are banks.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know.
I'm not panicking anymore.
It does. We have too much spread out, too many places. It makes it very difficult for our people here to kind of keep, on top of, and, this bank has this process and procedures, and this bank, I mean, we're seeing that just trying to change people on the accounts, you know what I mean? So that is probably our next kind of big step when it comes to kind of looking at, and it'd be a benefit for the school. Obviously, you want the one that's gonna give you the best, rate, and, that's gonna work the best for us too, so.
Is it the recommendation to have two banks or, as a backup or anything like that? Or is it
No, I mean,
recommendation
there's,
to just have one?
Not
Well-
necessarily, but even, for example, our ECA. I mean, we have 5 buildings here in the corporation, 3 elementaries and 1 school and high school. Each one of those buildings has their own account. Some are at this bank, some are at this bank.
Yeah.
In reality, if you house all the ECA accounts in one bank account, you can account for all those different funds and so forth through the ECA in our accounting system. There's no need to have to reconcile 5 different bank accounts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just cleaning all that.
Consolidation makes sense.
yes.
Yes.
So it's a little bit about the bank, but it's a little bit about our accounting processes too, like as far as, yes, streamlining that to have at least all of our ECA accounts together. I mean, for
Absolutely.
good,
That would clean up a ton.
yeah.
To not have to.
Makes sense.
And I think our food service is at one bank. We have an account there for one of the schools.
Just one.
Just one
And
of
all the
those.
rest of them go to the other one.
So that's what we're talking about. It's just kind of spread out right now. It needs to be cleaned up. So, and I don't want that to cause, I mean, I went through that at my previous school too, and it was it worked out really well. It was a fine process, but I do think that, there could be some hard feelings there, when you're looking at taking a large portion of money somewhere else possibly, if they're thinking will be a better interest rate, so. Just wanted you to be prepared. Anything else? I do not have anything else on the agenda for tonight. We have,
Do you guys have anything? How about a motion to adjourn?
So good. We adjourn for next week.
Second, third.
7:18.
All in favor? 4-0.
Thank you for coming. It's always so lonely when I'm the only one here. That happens on more than one board.
Next time, we're gonna put one single chair right in the middle.